you could join us. And I might have to add that we want to record this meeting. So please turn off your camera if you do not want to show up in any of these pictures. And please be aware if you ask questions or otherwise interact with us that this is recorded. Okay, I'm also happy to join my cat and my partners from the other institutes. Claudia from Mexico and Torsten, who's working in Spain, will show you the current web application we programmed and developed. We'll also show you and explain to you why we do this in the first place. And then we will have a quick overview of the actions, what we've done so far. There have been a lot of real-life workshops, for example, before the pandemic and during the pandemic, more virtually, where we tested with the citizens in each of the 7 countries how to solve some of the issues of the calculator. So I'm happy to give over to Claudia and Torsten now.
Yes, hello everybody. Hello, Claudia. Do you know your lifestyle carbon footprint?
I know. I actually know my COVID footprint.
Okay.
Do you know yours, Torsten?
Yeah, my one is around 9 tons. I calculated it recently with SUSLA, and it's a little bit above the average of Spanish households of people. So, hello, welcome everybody. Yes, this is about lifestyle carbon footprint. So we want to explain you what we did during the last years through the Sustainable Lifestyle Accelerator project. And especially when we want to invite you to use our SUSLA app, our lifestyle carbon calculator. And therefore, we want to give you this presentation and explain a little bit the background about the lifestyle carbon footprint, what it is about, for example. No? So, Claudia, we have different parts of our daily life which has impact. No? One is, for example, our homes. We have a lot of CO2 emissions related to our homes, which have to be heated, which have to be constructed. No? Then we have other parts like mobility. We move a lot today. No? So these mobility patterns have associated high carbon emissions normally. Then we have other parts like diet. No? Our food in different countries has different parts of impacts depending on the type of our diet we have. And then we have consumption and leisure activities. No? So all these different impacts, we can calculate it. No? We have to know today where we are in order to know where we have to go. This is the sense of our calculation app. And well, we invite you to use it, and today we explain it. And we have a lot of partners, as Jens said, from 7 countries, which we also wanted to introduce quickly. Claudia.
Yes, so we've been working for the past 3, nearly now 4 years together. And from the beginning, this has been the setup or the consortium. So we are led by Wuppertal Institute, and we are working also with a lot of the materials developed beforehand by DMAT in Finland. And then we have, of course, India, represented by Indrapastha Institute of Information Technology. We have Switzerland, represented by Future Camp. Denmark, represented by University College Copenhagen, and well, ourselves, Torsten, who's coming from Universitat Politécnica, Catalunya, and myself, Claudia, who comes from Design Your Action in Mexico. Although these are the people representing the institutions, we must say each of these institutions has a team of people behind, and very different experts from very different disciplines. So not all of us are experts in calculating, as Jens is. And for us, it's been enlightening to know exactly what happens behind and what is the logic behind calculating footprints.
So I think this was one of the very interesting, or is one of the very interesting things, that we are coming from very different social economic backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, and with different disciplines, and brought together all our knowledge in order to design our app and discuss about lifestyle carbon footprints.
And these very initial challenges we had, like how to design one single questionnaire that would fit to all these different countries when they are very different from one another. And well, something that we also need to mention, and we maybe even need to brag about, is that within our partners, we have Michael Lettenmeyer, who's now based in Finland, and who has been working very intensely with IKE's Foundation to create these reports, working with different countries and calculating exactly what it would mean to live lifestyles that aim at the 1.5 degrees limit.
Yes, so these reports are the, let's say, research background, which linked to our project. On the other side, we have the experience of Wuppertal Institute, of years of being a renowned institute within Europe, researching on impact of consumption production systems. And here we have one of the graphics. We won't overload the presentation, but this is an important graphic which shows that in industrialized countries, we are just overshooting our carbon footprint at the moment. We are around 8, 10, 12, up to 14 tons of CO2 emissions per year and per person, lifestyle carbon footprints. And our objectives are on the lower part indicated. 2030, we should reach 2.5 ton lifestyle carbon footprints, which means a reduction of industrial countries factor 5, 6, and in 2050 we should reach 0.7 tons CO2 emissions per person and year on a world average, obviously. So a huge reduction is necessary in order to meet the 1.5-degree goals, in order to limit climate change. So how to do that? That's a big question. So on a global scale, we try to limit greenhouse gas emissions. This is one political action, but what can we do on a personal side? What actions can we do? And I think our lifestyle accelerator shows that a lot of actions are possible, and we can sum up, let's say, many small personal initiatives and behavioral changes, which finally sum up to a certain amount of reduction potential we have identified already in our project, and which now every user can experience through our app. So we can sum up different actions like reducing our flying time, no? Which is related to a lot of emissions. The same thing in the area of food, or in the area of housing, renewable energies. So all our lifestyle aspects or ways of our daily routines, let's say, can be adjusted and changed, and we can calculate through our app also this contribution and see how we can, let's say, reduce our impact.
Yeah, and this is also important to notice that in here we have the size of the targets for 2030 and 2050. And if you notice, well, basically flying 20 hours in a year would basically account for about that much. So the changes in our lifestyle have to be massive, and well, it will be important to have an imagination exercise globally to really understand how we need to live in order to achieve the targets that we are aiming at.
Mm-hmm.
These are some results from our very first rounds, where we decided to select only from 5 to 10 households per country and identify how they are living, just as probing, really. We didn't have a lot of statistical value here, but we needed to make sure that our questionnaire was working for every kind of family in very different setups. So in here we have a specific example from Spain. Torsten?
Yes, our 7 pilot families of the first round, where we gained all the first experience with SUSLA and the Sustainable Lifestyle Accelerator. So we invited families to test it. And the most important thing is that they were all very keen to know where they are and how to reduce, and every action they introduce into the daily routines, how much would that reduce their carbon footprint. And they had no information before in that exactitude. Let's say, if we recycle more, if we eat less meat, for example, does this really make a difference? So the accelerator shows the exact reduction potential if you look at the next slide, and it allows to design a pathway of reduction. And this is a very nice graph, just one example of one country. So we can do that for every country and different persons. That they started, for example, with over 9 tons, one of that families, and they experienced that they could reduce 18% just through changing daily routines in a 3-month experiment. So they could reduce that 18% just through small adjustments in their diet, in their mobility patterns. And on the long run, choosing a lot of actions and a lot of changes, they could reach an almost 3-ton lifestyle. They didn't really reach it 100%, but they could already design their pathway for reduction. And I think this is a very important learning effect that each action can contribute. And it's a process of transition towards 3 tons and less tons lifestyles.
And this has also been very welcome by participants to know that you don't have to change everything by tomorrow, but you have some years to conduct several changes in your lifestyle until you reach the goal.
Okay,
so now
this
is where we start getting into matter. So all that logic behind has been put into a web app. So you have to actually go into the website and start using the app. So that's where we've uploaded our questionnaire in a way that is accessible for everybody, or for all the 7 countries and all the languages spoken in these countries. So you would be able to go there and start answering some few questions of this kind. I would say that our questionnaire is probably more precise than other calculators that we have, of course, because we have all the knowledge of Wuppertal Institute behind. And then we're estimating not only how big your house is, but how old it is. And other kinds of things like what is your total electric consumption per year. And you can, of course, also click that you don't know the yearly consumption, and you will get an average from your country, which is also different from other calculators. But of course, you can always try and just write the right number, for which you would, of course, need to be a little bit more prepared to fill in this questionnaire to be more precise.
Exactly. We are asking for some numbers which you can get out of your bills, your electricity bills, your gas bills, etc. So with a little preparation, you can get quite exact results. But as Claudia says, you can also get an estimation of a national average, which is then not exactly your profile, but it goes in the right direction, let's say. But as more you can give of your personal consumption behavior, real behavior, the more exact will be the result of your carbon footprint. So here it's about housing, it's about energy consumption. Then in the next slide, we see, for example, that we asked about your mobility behavior. If you have 1 car, 2 cars, small, big ones, electrical ones, hybrids, whatever. So you have to indicate that. And we also asked about kilometers you go by public transport, by train or an airplane. So your mobility pattern is a very important part to track. And then we asked also on your holiday behavior, for example. As we know, long distance flying has a lot of impact. And you can indicate that, how much holiday trips you're doing on weekends, etc. Then we asked, obviously, about diet. No? Diet, we said, has a high impact. So here we asked meat production, meat consumption, sorry. So you can specify how much meat you roughly consume. This needs a reflection process about our consumption behavior, no? And doing 3 numbers on a paper or estimation. No?
And something you can also see here is that these bars start showing which is the proportion of the different aspects of your lifestyle that are counting for the greatest amount of your emissions and your material footprint. So it's calculating both at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did not talk about exactly that. We also calculate the material footprint, which is very related to Wuppertal Institute, and which calculates basically all the amount of materials in tons which are necessary to offer or to produce a product or a service, facilitate a service. And this amount of materials which have to be moved, transported, and used can be calculated and give us the material footprint, which is a very specific accountability related to Wuppertal Institute. And a little bit more known impact calculation is the carbon footprint, let's say, which we are more focusing in this slides, let's say. And then you come to this summary sheet where we see exactly our impact in the 5 different areas of housing, mobility, leisure, food, and goods, and our total carbon footprint. And we can compare it with the average in the different countries. And then we can introduce actions, Claudia.
Yes, so in the same way that we had this game or puzzle, as we call it, where we could see how big an impact would have, an action impact would be if I put it into practice. The same thing happens here. So you would see these bars and you know how big this impact would be. So it's a moderate impact if, for example, you start choosing local food at stores and marketplaces instead of maybe buying them from farther away. Or if you monitor your home electricity consumption online, it also has a moderate impact. But it will show you the different colors depending on the different types of lifestyle area where you need to make a special effort, because of course it will be personalized. So we know here that if you take shorter showers, of course, then it will reduce the energy consumption. But how much? Well, it's moderate. And it depends also on how many minutes per shower you will be reducing and how many showers per week. So in this way, you can, of course, a little bit play with the app and show how big your action can be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have some 35, 40 actions at the moment available in SUSLA. I think this is a very interesting starting option in order, as you say, to play around and see if I do 2 hours less flying, is this 100 kilograms or 300 kilograms less of my carbon footprint? And is this important to the overall amount of carbon footprint I have? So we learn about quantification and the impact of each action. That's the sense of our calculator, I think, in this stage. And as you say, from showers to flight time, a lot of options are possible. Some you maybe have already introduced. You're maybe using already a shopping bag, no, in order to not use plastic bags in your country where you are. So a lot of things can also be already introduced. In the next slide, we see that we can choose also actions. Here we have on the right side a special roadmap. This is interesting to explain, because if you choose some actions, then you can also mark that some of the actions you already have introduced in your daily routines because you're already recycling or doing things. And this would be the part which is named done, let's say, actions which have been experienced and which you have integrated in your lifestyle. And they are discounting already from your current lifestyle footprint. And the other actions are in the roadmap part, which is the ones you plan to experience. So you choose them, you said, okay, we'll try them for 3 months. And the app reminds you on Saturdays, I think, each week, and asks you, did you really do your action you choose? And if you then confirm that you did it, then it gets, after 3 times, integrated and calculated as done, let's say, registered as done, and discounts from your carbon lifestyle footprint. So it's about accountability, it's about measuring, learning about quantities, and experiencing.
Yeah, and it's very much about choosing, which is also very important. So we are not demanding everybody to have one single lifestyle, but continue to lead your own lives and select from a menu of actions what can be done already today.
Great. And then we have the idea of social networks behind. How not? I mean, today everything is related. And all of our users in our pilot projects also told us that they are really interested to do that things together and to share experiences and to get known recommendations from their neighbors and fellow users of SUSLA. So this is a German screen print of the Facebook group in Germany. So some things already started, no? Getting on the social network level. And I don't know how in Mexico, are you active, Claudia?
We are very active in our social media. So we are active on mainly Instagram and Facebook, and we are recently maybe posting some few things to Twitter, but those are the main 2 where we've been posting a lot of different actions that are possible in our country as well, because that is also something important, that not everything is available everywhere. And then we are also starting to identify new things that can be done in places like ours. And well, we should also move on a little bit to talk about the different countries and what's been going on. Do we have Pernille here?
Yes, thank you. So thank you, Torsten and Claudia. So I'm going to pass the word on to the different countries. And if there's any of the participants that have any questions, either to Torsten and Claudia or any of the country presentations, you're welcome to write them in the chat, and then we'll have a little bit of time at the end to address your questions. So we start with Finland.
Hello, here's Michael from DMAT in Finland. And I think Salla and Andri from our company are also here, but yeah, I'm just telling you a bit about Finland. So, well, as we have been doing this 1.5-degree lifestyles research reports, we know that the average lifestyle carbon footprint of Finnish people is quite high. It's around 10 tons. So this means that we need to get it down to a fourth of the present level within less than 10 years. And well, that's basically what we were doing here in the project, to try it out with people. And so in Finland, we have had some more than 500 participants in the project, and actually half of them was online in the SUSLA app, and half of them offline in the workshops we have been doing during the projects. And our experience is that these workshop participants, they are usually able to drop their carbon footprints by 10 to 20% immediately. And when we are looking at their roadmaps or plans till 2030, how to get closer to the 1.5-degree life, we see that they are able to drop even, or they will be able to drop, and they plan to drop even 50% of their footprints or even more. And well, Finland is actually quite full already of carbon footprinting apps. So that's one reason why we haven't had big launches for SUSLA so far, but we have been very active in this kind of developing of the offline version of the whole thing. So we have developed this climate puzzle where people can kind of plan their or redesign their lifestyles in a very physical way with these cards we have already shown already in the presentation also. So where they get a very good grasp of how they can reduce their footprints and how different actions can contribute to this. And yeah, we have been developing this offline version quite successfully, and it's nowadays be used by schools, for instance, quite enthusiastically. But maybe that's enough from Finland. Thank you for your attention, and we go on.
Thank you, Michael. And then we go to India.
Thank you, Pernille. Hello, everyone. I'm Nancy, and we at India are based at the Indrapastha Institute of Information Technology in Delhi. And as the India partner, we actually were really excited, and we welcomed the opportunity to be a part of an international consortium because it gave us a chance to think about sustainable lifestyles in our own country. As some of you might be aware that India's CO2 emissions were estimated at around 2.6 billion tons in 2020, and it might be less compared to various other developing nations, but our emissions are actually increasing at a higher rate, which has been a cause of worry for us, and we've heard all those conversations in the COP26 context also. But the use of SUSLA was actually quite unique for us, and it was really insightful for us because we actually got to know that which are those components in our daily habits, in the daily habits of households that contribute the most to carbon footprint. And through the use of the app, we found out that two categories contribute mainly to the footprints. The first being housing, which includes the use of air conditioning or heating in winters, or which includes the use of energy heavy materials in construction. And the second category that contributes majorly to our footprint is mobility, which includes daily travel. And actually together they contribute to the bulk of our footprint at about 2,500 million tons. Compared to the other nations, especially other European nations in the SLA consortium, we as the Indian households spend much less energy on food and leisure. Now, the other thing that I'd like to highlight here is the uniqueness of the households that we targeted in India as the SUSLA users. So an average household in India has 3 generations living together, and hence through the app, we were able to reach a diverse population and understand the lifestyle habits and choices of a diverse population in terms of age. We also had a high number of SUSLA users who registered during the beating of the app and also gave us really valuable feedback on how to make the SUSLA experience more meaningful for the Indian user. I would just like to end with a couple more insights on, who's the Indian user who's contributing the most to our CO2 emissions or our carbon footprint. And it is actually the aspirational middle class that contributes majorly to carbon and material footprint in India. Consumerism, especially the accumulation of material goods such as cars, air conditioning, mobiles, laptops, clothes, etc., is on a rise, especially in the cities of India, because these products are seen as a symbol of status, progress, and social mobility. In this milieu, an app like SUSLA can really encourage people to make small lifestyle changes that can have a considerable effect on footprints. SUSLA is also unique, and it is unique for us in India because there's been a lack of focus on lifestyle impact, something that our European partners have been doing for a longer time. Also the action part of SUSLA, which we thought was the most exciting part of the app, where users are given a series or an option of actions or sustainable lifestyle choices, which can help make them more aware about how they can reduce their carbon footprint, was really beneficial to us. And we believe that going ahead, the Indian users will really benefit from the app. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nancy. And now we go to Mexico. I think back to Claudia again.
Actually, Aranza is here for that.
Hi, good
Sorry.
morning. Well, in Mexico, we have been conducting some workshops with children at schools. And what has been interesting for us about these interactions with them is, well, in the first place, about food. Like, well, first of all, they have almost no idea of what we're talking about when we say material footprint, for example. They don't know what that is, and they seem surprised when we explain to them how this works and where's the carbon footprint and where's the material footprint. It's very interesting for them because they come up with a lot of questions, and it's really, yeah, we get a lot of feedback from them into which things are we have to put more attention on because they don't know. And one of the insights we have been getting from these workshops is that in the first place, they are not willing to give up food. Like they say, like, what? Don't eat tacos ever again? Like, I'm not doing that. So what we try to tell them is that they do not have to stop consuming those things. But for example, if they eat meat 7 days a week, they can start slowly, like saying, okay, on Wednesday, I'm not eating this. Or 2 days of the week, I'm not eating meat. Or for example, cheese has come out to be a very a thing, a food they are not willing to give up. So we tell them not to give it up, just to eat it less. And that's one thing. The other thing has been mobility, because here in Mexico, the idea of public transport is that it's very unsafe, and which sometimes it is. And also a thing about comfort. So when one has the chance of having a car or using a car instead of the public transport, people tend to choose that option because it's more comfortable and more safe. Yeah, and so those have been our most important insights from the children, and also that they are very willing to learn and very willing to ask questions about this. So we have found out that they are a very nice target to address.
Thank you very much, Aranzazu. And now we jump to Spain.
Yes, back to me. Hello again. So in Spain, we had so far some 250 to 300 users, lead users during the last year. And we gathered them in different places. One thing is my work as professor and researcher at UPC University. So I use SUSLA regularly with my students. When we talk about sustainable housing and lifestyle, then we apply SUSLA. And we also had interesting experiences about calculating our pre-COVID carbon footprint in relation to our current carbon footprint, which is constantly changing due to the COVID situation. But it was interesting that that footprints dropped some 20% of students due to reducing almost to zero their traveling. So these were interesting starting points for discussion also with students on lifestyle carbon footprints and our behavior in general. And then we're collaborating with the municipality of Sant Cugat de Vallès, which is the city we are located as a campus. And we work together with schools like you in Mexico, very nice, introducing SUSLA to school children. So they now currently are working on getting together the data from their parents' homes, energy consumptions each week. So they learn something about a new part of impact. And then we want to apply it with SUSLA. And on the long term, our next steps would be to map whole city quarters. This would be, I think, really interesting to map the average footprint of certain communities in order then to act over them through incentives or certain programs on local food markets or mobility changes. So using SUSLA as a tool for municipalities also to implement actions and to map their neighborhoods. So this was our experience. We are around 8.5 tons average current footprint in Spain, and we have a long way to go to be sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you, Torsten. And now we move to Germany.
Hi again. Maybe just a few words on the research institute I'm working on. I'm in division on responsible and sustainable consumption and production. So we are very interested in what people consume, but also why they consume it that way. So we're trying to find out what a good life could look like that is sustainable and that is well within the boundaries of the planet. And to that extent, we need to understand first how people consume, what areas are of interest, what cultural differences make in the end for difference, and what type of products and services and systems we actually need in the future to achieve that goal. So it's not all about just consuming less, but maybe consuming different in a better surrounding system. In Germany, so far, we've had more than 3,000, I think 3,500 users that used the online app during all the different alpha and beta phases. And some of the results we got back were as expected. For example, higher income families usually have a higher carbon footprint and material footprint. And some of the issues we've seen with other research in the past that replicated as well, that, for example, users or people get attracted by these kind of calculators that are already interested in those issues and that maybe already have changed their lifestyle in the past. So they want to know what they are good about, or what's good about their lifestyle. But we've had a considerable chunk of people that come from more, let's say, average families that gave us some insights. I was, for example, a little bit surprised that there is a significant differences between the, let's say, genders in terms of mobility and food. So there seems to be a disparity on what priorities we put on our lifestyles. As everyone can imagine, the car is a very important status symbol in Germany, and people have trouble, at least in the urban areas, to get rid of it. Sometimes because the systems do not allow it for it, the infrastructures are not there, but sometimes because they want to have a car and it's important for them to have this mobility option. So we will have maybe a little bit of a road ahead of us to find solutions to these kind of lifestyle choices, and what type of cars and mobility options we might provide in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Jens. And now we go to Switzerland.
So maybe I talk about our work. We were doing future camp works with people more in the daily life and in life workshops, and we really try to introduce the sustainable lifestyles into the lives of people. It's easier if we work live with them. The app was quite a challenge for us because it's a virtual device and it's a web app. The Swiss people like very much kind of mobile apps. I don't know why. And they were like kind of looking always for the mobile app. So this is one point we had a little bit difficulty to reach people. We had in the web app, we had 127 users. And in the workshops, we had kind of more of 25. So we are a small country. We had little bit less users, but the users were very dedicated users. So kind of, it was very difficult to reach the target group we were looking for, which is not our crowd, which is people who are really not yet living a sustainable lifestyle. And this was really a big challenge because most people who used the app were already experiencing behavior changes, doing many things in sustainable lifestyle areas. And it was very, very difficult to find other users. We tried it with a big project for municipalities to introduce the app in this project, but in the end, the project didn't choose SUSLA app, but chose another app. We had kind of other apps in Switzerland, which were easier to use and more user-friendly. They were not so accurate. The other apps are not so accurate, but the user likes the easier way. So this is also a challenge. We managed through our communication channels to reach our users. And in the end, we reached one blogger who really analyzed the app in a wonderful way. And she loved it because she really understood the app. So people who really want to know their carbon and material footprint, who understand what this app can do for them, they really appreciate it. Maybe I show you some things which our users, our average users in Switzerland tried out. I think it's very interesting to see that in the realm of housing, they tried out very few things. like taking shorter showers or monitoring their energy consumption, or heating less. But the most things they really tried out, which was the easiest and the fastest results, were in the food realm. So they tried out many things, but what they really, the actions they really did in the end were most in the food and consumption realm. For instance, make fast and delicious food from leftovers. They tried out, no, they kind of introduced the actions in their lives, use own shopping bags, follow the own shopping list, etc., to have more control over their shopping or consumption, their own consumption, or very small actions like add no advertisements, please sign to the front door. But the really big actions were not implemented. So there is a question mark, why didn't they do it? Switzerland is a high income country and people are very used to a very comfortable lifestyle. And I think this is also very difficult to kind of lead them to reduce anything. They tried out less coffee, etc., but not the really big actions with the big impact. For instance, flying less, no one tried out. Even our public is a very aware public. So yeah, this is Switzerland.
Thank you, Gabrielle. And now we end in Denmark, and it's me presenting, Pernille from University College Copenhagen. I'm at the Department of Nutrition and Health. So we work a lot with sustainable diets and dietary guidelines that are based on climate footprints and biodiversity and other things. One of the big results that we have here is that we're going from 9.7 tons of CO2 per average Dane, and of course we're also aiming at 2.5. Myself, I managed to get down to 3.8 tons, but still not there yet. Some of the calculators of carbon footprint in Denmark estimate that the average Dane have up to 12 tons of CO2 per year. Some even say 17 tons, but that includes the emissions from public services as well. In Denmark, we've reached 135 households, so it's not very many. We have tried that through different means. One of the ways was that in the beginning we did some workshops. One interesting thing that we found during these workshops, we had recruited people from obviously people that want to participate in a workshop are typically more environmentally interested and more environmentally conscious. But what we found from those estimates, and that's dating 2 years back, was that some of them had a footprint of around 10 tons and some even closer to 20 tons. So it was quite high. So I think there's a lot to be done even amongst the environmentally conscious people. Of course, at that time, the app was not completely finished, so there might also be some flaws in the way that it was estimated. From the results in the recent year, we found that the biggest footprint, both carbon footprint and material footprint, comes from food. The second one is from housing, and the third is from mobility. Now, the fact that mobility is in the third place might also be affected by the COVID, but some of you already mentioned that most people travel less, so maybe the mobility footprint is even higher. But what's interesting is with the food that it has such a high footprint. Now the people that did the SUSLA app here in Denmark are the majority are below 30. So it could be that when you, I mean, maybe the footprint from mobility and housing is not as high as if it were somebody that was a bit older. But from the food side, I think what our experience is that there's a lot that can be reduced. But also, as some of you have already mentioned, the whole thing about telling people not to eat meat is very controversial, and very much so here in Denmark as well. But we have found some recent statistics that's coming out to say that people are eating less meat. At least the young generation, maybe the older generation, it's still a bit of a challenge to bring it down. In addition to the workshops that we had in the beginning, we've also used the SUSLA app in some of the teaching in higher educations. We have a collaboration now with the libraries around Denmark, and I know some of you are participating today. I'm very happy to have you here. And then we've also been out at different festivals, as well as doing a social media campaign using especially Facebook. We have a Facebook page, and we have also done Instagram and LinkedIn. So I think that's it from Denmark. So I don't know if we have any questions in the chat. I don't know if you can, I haven't noticed any. At least, right, Gabriel? No
questions.
So you're still welcome to, if there's anything that came up during the presentations, that you're still welcome to write your question down. Otherwise, I'll give the word to Eva.
Yes, hi everyone. So this is Eva from Spain, also from UPC University. And I wanted to, first of all, encourage you to take this carbon footprint test, and then to encourage you to share a screenshot of your results and post it in your social media with this hashtag, Dare to Know. You can use it for your stories. For example, I posted mine yesterday with my results, and this way you can really help us raise this awareness and even encourage other people to take action. It is also a way to understand where these numbers are coming from, right? So, but in any case, remember this is not a competition. It is not about judging or even shaming other people's results. It's about empowering through knowledge, because knowledge is the first step to change. So, and we want you to know that every improvement in your lifestyle, even the smallest, does matter, and every action has an impact. So, as we've seen during this presentation. So yes, let's use social media for a good cause. Thank you.
May I add something to our call for action? I think there's a very simple thinking behind. As we saw, we have a reduction potential of 15 to 20% just through behavioral changes in all countries. So if we have an average footprint between 3.2 in some countries and up to 14 in others, and we can calculate an average of 6-7 tons, then everyone who calculates and improves his footprint through some actions can save 1 ton of CO2. So this would mean that each user of SUSLA could contribute through a reduction of 1 ton of CO2. And this, upscaling the numbers, would really make the difference. So it's not about the 28 kilograms of CO2 for some showering less. It's summing up many people with many small actions. And I think SUSLA is a great tool to start, to know where you are, to dare to know where you are, and try to make a change. So this means we are closing down, Pernille.
I think so. If we don't have any questions from the listeners out there, I think this is it.
Here's the app, the address to the app, so that's where you can go and dare to know.
And we will also, like Jens said in the beginning, we have recorded this event, so so we will be happy to share the recording with you. So if in case you want to share it with some of your colleagues or friends, family or whatever, just get back to us and let us know. Great. So thank you, everyone. And hope to see you out there and see some of your results.
There is some question I see. There are some questions, Pernil.
Some thank yous, I think, are coming.
Thank yous.
So not too much questions.
Thank yous.
That's also a valuable contribution.
That's also welcome. That's also welcome.
And we invite you all to use SUSLA and to spread the word and the hashtag.
That's right.
Okay, so goodbye, everybody, also from our side. And
Take
let's
care.
go ahead.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.